The city never slept, but on that street, it held its breath. Rain slid down broken streetlights, turning the road into a mirror of flickering shadows. The kind of place people avoided. The kind of place even the police pretended didn't exist. Every building stood like a witness that had learned long ago to stay silent. She didn't mean to end up there. One wrong turn. One dead phone. One shortcut that wasn't a shortcut at all. Her footsteps echoed too loudly, each one announcing her fear. She pulled her coat tighter, eyes darting between dark doorways and shuttered shops. Somewhere behind her, footsteps followed. Not rushed. Not hidden. Confident. She stopped. The footsteps stopped too. That's when she knew. 3 men stepped out from different corners of the street, moving like they had rehearsed this moment. Their faces stayed half covered in shadow, but their smiles were clear enough. Comfortable. Like predators who knew the prey had nowhere left to run. Relax, one of them said softly, his voice almost friendly. Nobody's here to help you. She took a step back. Her back hit cold brick. No exits. No lights. No sound except rain and her own heartbeat, pounding so hard it felt like it might betray her. She thought about screaming. But the street felt wrong. Empty in a way that swallowed sound. One man moved closer. Too close. She could smell alcohol and something sharper, confidence born from knowing the rules didn't apply here. Another blocked the street behind her. The third just watched, eyes scanning the shadows, as if checking for something or someone. That's when the air changed. Not with noise. With silence. A low hum cut through the rain, the sound of an engine idling nearby. A black car rolled to a stop at the edge of the street, smooth and unhurried, like it belonged there. No headlights. No rush. The 3 men froze. Not panic. Not fear yet. Recognition. The driver's door opened. Leather shoes touched wet pavement. Slow. Deliberate. A tall figure stepped out, coat perfectly still despite the rain. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't hurry. He didn't even look angry. Yet the street seemed to shrink around him, as if the city itself was stepping back. He glanced at the 3 men. That was all. The one closest to her swallowed hard. His smile vanished. "This doesn't concern you," he said, but his voice betrayed him. The man ignored him and turned his gaze to the girl. "Are you hurt?" he asked. His voice was calm. Controlled. Not kind, but not cruel either. It was the voice of someone used to being obeyed without explanation. She tried to speak. Nothing came out. Behind her, one of the men muttered a name. Not loud. Not meant to be heard. But the man heard it. His eyes shifted back to them. The temperature dropped. "You have 10 seconds, he said quietly. "Use them wisely." One of the men laughed, forced, desperate. "We didn't know she was." The man raised a single finger. That was enough. The laughter died. 9 seconds. The street felt like it was closing in. Somewhere far away, a dog barked, then went silent. The men exchanged looks, calculating. Running here would be pointless. Fighting would be suicide. 8 seconds. "Please," one of them whispered, not to the girl, not to the city, to him. 7 seconds. The man took one slow step forward. That's when the girl noticed something terrifying. He wasn't angry. He was disappointed. 6 seconds. The men backed away, hands raised, retreating into the darkness they had come from. No threats. No last words. Just fear, pure and naked. 5 seconds. They vanished. The rain continued like nothing had happened. The man turned back to the girl. For the first time, she could really see him. Sharp eyes, unreadable expression, a face carved by decisions that had ended lives without regret. "You shouldn't walk alone here," he said. She nodded, shaking. He gestured toward the car. "Get in." She hesitated. The door was already open. As she stepped inside, she looked back at the empty street, the same street that moments ago had felt like her grave. "Who are you?" she asked softly. The man paused. For just a second. Then the door closed. The car pulled away, leaving the street exactly as it was, silent, watching, remembering. And somewhere in the city, people would feel it before they understood it. Something had been disturbed. Because when a mafia boss steps into the open, the city doesn't ask questions. It goes silent. The car moved through the city like a ghost. No sirens. No horns. No red lights dared to stop it. From the back seat, she watched buildings slide past the tinted glass, neon signs flickering, alleyways swallowing shadows. The city looked alive again, loud and careless, as if nothing unusual had happened. As if 3 men hadn't just vanished from a street that no one would ever mention. She sat stiff, hands clenched in her lap. The man sat across from her, silent, composed, studying her the way a chess player studies a board, already thinking 10 moves ahead. He hadn't asked her name. He hadn't explained anything. And somehow, that frightened her more than threats ever could. "You don't look like you belong there," he said at last. His voice was calm, but not conversational. It wasn't a question. It was a conclusion. "I was just trying to get home," she replied. A faint smile touched his lips, not amusement, not kindness. Recognition. Everyone says that. The car slowed as they crossed an invisible border. She felt it before she saw it. The streets grew cleaner, quieter, guarded. Men stood outside cafes pretending to drink coffee, eyes scanning reflections. Cameras tilted subtly as the car passed. No one stopped them. No one even looked surprised. She leaned forward slightly. "Who are you?" The man didn't answer immediately. Instead, he reached into his coat and removed a pair of gloves, placing them neatly beside him. A strange detail, but deliberate. Everything about him was deliberate. "Names are dangerous," he said. "They give people the illusion of control." That was the first time she understood something crucial. This man didn't hide from the city. The city hid from him. They arrived at a building that didn't announce itself. No sign, no luxury display, just stone, steel, and silence. The doors opened before the car fully stopped. Inside, warmth, soft lighting, and the quiet hum of power. As she stepped out, every movement around her paused for half a second. Men noticed her, assessed her, filed her away like a problem that hadn't existed an hour ago. She felt exposed. He felt untouchable. Inside, the elevator rose without a sound. Numbers lit up, then disappeared. No destination displayed. "Why did you help me?" she asked. This time, he looked at her directly. "That," he said slowly, "is the wrong question." The doors opened to a room that felt less like an office and more like a command center, dark wood, glass walls, the city stretching beneath them like a kingdom. This was a place where decisions were made quietly and felt loudly. He gestured for her to sit. She didn't. "Those men," she said. "They were afraid of you." "Yes." "That doesn't answer anything." "It answers everything," he replied. He turned toward the window. From here, the city looked small, manageable. "People think power announces itself," he continued. "Loud cars, bodyguards, violence. But real power is when no one needs to ask who you are." She swallowed. "Then why pretend you don't exist?" He finally smiled. "Because monsters are easier to control when people think they're myths." A man entered quietly and whispered something in his ear. The smile vanished. "They ran," the man said. "But not far." The boss nodded once. No anger. No urgency. "Good," he replied. "Fear spreads faster when it breathes." The man left. She stared. "You're just going to let them go?" He turned back to her. "Letting them run is not mercy," he said. "It's education." She realized then, what she had witnessed on that street wasn't rescue. It was a warning. "To them?" she asked. "To everyone," he answered. A pause settled between them, heavy and uncomfortable. "Why am I here?" she finally asked. He walked closer, stopping just far enough to keep control. His eyes searched her face, not for beauty, not for weakness, but for something buried. "Because," he said quietly, "you were not supposed to be there tonight." Her breath caught. "What does that mean?" "It means," he continued, "that 3 men were waiting in the wrong place, at the wrong time, for the wrong girl." The room felt smaller. "You think they were after me on purpose?" "I know they were." Her heart began to race. Then why save me? She whispered. For the first time, something unreadable crossed his face. Not doubt. Not fear. Conflict. Because, he said, turning away, someone wants me to believe you're insignificant. He faced her again. And I don't like being lied to. Somewhere deep in the building, a door locked. And in the city below, rumors would start spreading, quietly, carefully, that the man the city pretends not to see had stepped out of the shadows, and that whoever sent those 3 men had just made a very expensive mistake. The room she woke up in was too quiet. Not peaceful, controlled. Soft light filtered through tall curtains. The bed was wide, untouched by time or dust. No locks on the door. No bars on the windows. And yet, the air itself felt guarded, like it belonged to someone else. She sat up slowly. Everything here was expensive, intentional, and unfamiliar. This wasn't a safe house. This was a statement. A woman entered without knocking. Elegant. Sharp. Not a servant, something closer to a gatekeeper. You're awake, the woman said. But he doesn't like waiting. Where am I? She asked. The woman paused, then smiled thinly. Safe, she replied. For now. They walked through corridors that swallowed sound. Men stood at intervals, still, watchful, pretending not to look at her. But she felt it. Every step was recorded. Every breath measured. They stopped outside a door darker than the rest. Inside, he was already there. The boss stood by the window again, city stretched beneath him like a living map. He didn't turn when she entered. Did you sleep? He asked. Yes, she said. I think. That means you trust this place, he replied. Or you were too exhausted to fear it. She didn't answer. You can leave any time, he added casually. The door is never locked. She laughed once. Chirp. Nervous. And how far would I get? That made him turn. You'd get exactly as far as I allow, he said calmly. Which is farther than anyone else would. The words settled like a weight. Why are your men watching me? She asked. They watch everyone, he said. But you, differently. Why? He studied her. Slowly. Carefully. Like a man examining a crack in armor he didn't know he had. Because the night I found you, he said, 3 men disappeared from a street they weren't supposed to be on. Her stomach tightened. No bodies, he continued. No witnesses. No noise. That alone is unusual. She looked away. And then, he added, my rivals went quiet. Phones stopped ringing. Deliveries paused. That never happens without a reason. She turned back to him. You think I caused that? I think, he replied, you are connected to something older than you realize. A knock interrupted them. One of his lieutenants entered, tense, careful. A man used to power, now uncomfortable around it. The council isn't happy, the lieutenant said. They think you've grown sentimental. The boss smiled faintly. Sentiment is weakness, he said. I don't suffer from it. The lieutenant hesitated, glancing at her. They're asking questions about the girl. The room changed. Tell them, the boss said quietly, that curiosity is expensive. The lieutenant nodded and left without another word. She exhaled shakily. They're afraid of you. They should be, he said. Fear keeps the city alive. And me, she asked. What keeps me alive? He walked closer. Not threatening. Not gentle. Uncertainty, he said. As long as no one knows your value, you remain dangerous to them. She frowned. You talk like I'm an object. He stopped inches away. No, he said. I talk like your leverage. That was worse. She stepped back. I didn't ask for this. No one ever does, he replied. Power only asks if you can survive it. Later that night, she wandered the halls alone. Or so she thought. Voices drifted from behind a partially open door. He broke protocol, one man whispered. For a stranger, another replied. Or for something he hasn't told us, a third said. She stepped back quietly, heart pounding. For the first time, she understood the truth. She wasn't just being protected. She was being hidden. In her room, she noticed something new on the bedside table, a phone. No contacts. No signal. One message. They're watching you. Trust no one. Her breath caught. Moments later, the boss entered without knocking. You shouldn't explore alone, he said calmly. She held up the phone. Who sent this? His expression didn't change. That, he said, depends on whether you believe I'm protecting you. He leaned closer. Or keeping you. The lights outside flickered once. Far below, the city shifted, alliances cracking, whispers spreading. And somewhere in the darkness, someone smiled. Because the question was no longer whether the Mafia boss saved her. It was whether she had been rescued or claimed. Silence spread first. Not the peaceful kind. The kind that arrives before something dies. By morning, the city had changed. Not visibly, no fires, no sirens, no headlines. But the rhythm was gone. Deliveries arrived late. Clubs didn't open. Phones rang and weren't answered. Men who never missed meetings didn't show up. And everyone noticed. From the penthouse window, she watched the streets below. Cars moved slower. People looked over their shoulders more often. Fear hadn't arrived yet, but anticipation had. The city was waiting for permission to panic. Behind her, the door opened. You feel it, the boss said. It wasn't a question. Yes, she replied. It's like the city is holding its breath. He stepped beside her, gaze fixed outward. Breath can be held only so long, he said. Then something breaks. She turned to him. Is this because of me? He didn't answer immediately. That alone was an answer. They think I exposed myself, he said at last. They think saving you made me predictable. And did it? He glanced at her. For the first time, she saw fatigue behind his control. Predictability, he said quietly, is the most expensive mistake a powerful man can make. Downstairs, raised voices echoed faintly, his inner circle arguing. Names she didn't know. Territories she didn't understand. But one word kept surfacing. The girl. She felt it like a brand. They don't trust me, she said. They don't need to, he replied. They need to fear what you represent. What do I represent? She asked. He didn't answer. Later, she walked the halls again, this time knowing she wasn't alone. Eyes followed her from reflections. Footsteps paused when she stopped. Doors closed softly behind her. At the end of the corridor, she found a room she hadn't seen before. Inside, maps, photos, documents pinned like wounds across the walls. And at the center of it all, her older photos. Blurry. Taken years ago. A man standing beside her in one, his face scratched out. In another, a symbol circled in red. Her pulse thundered. Footsteps behind her. I told you not to wander, the boss said. She spun. You've been watching me my whole life. No, he said. Someone else has. She held up a photo. Who is this? He stared at it longer than necessary. A ghost, he replied. One who never learned to stay buried. Voices erupted downstairs, louder now. Angrier. A lieutenant stormed in without knocking. They're moving, he said. 3 factions. Quietly. Together. The boss's jaw tightened. That shouldn't be possible, the lieutenant continued. They hate each other. They hate uncertainty more, the boss replied. The lieutenant glanced at her. They want proof she matters. Silence hit harder than shouting. Send them none, the boss said. Let them guess. The lieutenant hesitated. And if they force the issue? The boss's eyes darkened. Then the city learns the cost of impatience. That night, the silence deepened. No music from the clubs. No laughter from the streets. Even the rain seemed to fall softer, as if afraid to be heard. In her room, she found another message on the phone. You're the key. He won't choose you. He'll choose the city. Her chest tightened. Moments later, the lights flickered. Twice. Then came the sound, far away, but unmistakable. A gunshot. Then another. She ran. Down corridors. Past guards suddenly alert, hands on weapons. Radios crackled with fragments, locations, codes, confusion. She burst onto the terrace just as smoke rose somewhere in the distance. "What's happening?" she demanded. The boss stood there already, calm amid chaos. "They've broken the silence," he said. "That means they're afraid." "Of me? Of what you might unlock," he replied. Another explosion, closer this time. Phones began ringing again. All at once. Non-stop. The city was awake. He turned to her, expression unreadable. "This is the moment," he said, "when everyone decides who they really are." She stared at him. "And what about you?" He held her gaze. "I decide," he said, "what survives." Somewhere below, alliances collapsed. Old enemies shook hands. And someone made a move that couldn't be undone. Because silence had failed. And when silence fails in a mafia city, blood begins to speak. The city was awake now. Not alive, awake. Sirens screamed in the distance, but they were ignored. Gunfire echoed in places no one would admit existed. Deals were being broken mid-sentence. Old loyalties were suddenly negotiable. And men who had survived decades were realizing they might not survive the night. From the high-rise terrace, she watched smoke curl upward like a warning written in the sky. "This is because of me," she said. The boss didn't deny it. He stood still, phone pressed to his ear, issuing commands in a voice so calm it felt cruel. Each word he spoke shifted the city, redirected violence, spared lives, condemned others. When he ended the call, the silence between them felt heavier than the chaos below. "I never asked to be saved," she said quietly. "No," he replied. "You were taken." She turned to him. "Then why does it feel like I owe something?" "Because you do," his eyes said. But his mouth didn't. "They're forcing a choice," he said instead. "That's what tonight is." "A choice between what?" she asked. He looked at her then, really looked. Not as leverage. Not as a threat. As a consequence. "Between ending this quickly," he said, "or letting it become a war." Her breath caught. "And where do I fit into that?" "You already do." Another call came in. Urgent. "They have her brother," the voice said through the speaker. The world tilted. "My," she whispered. "I don't have a—" The boss raised a hand, silencing her gently. "You didn't," he said. "Until recently." Her heart slammed against her ribs. "You knew." "I suspected," he replied. "Tonight confirmed it." She backed away. "You let this happen." "No," he said sharply. "I let the city reveal itself." She shook her head, tears rising. "You said you saved me." "I did," he answered. "From the street." She laughed bitterly. "And sentenced me to this." For the first time, his control cracked, not outwardly but inwardly. A subtle shift. A man realizing the weight of his own decisions. "Saving someone," he said slowly, "doesn't mean saving their world." The phone buzzed again. A message this time. A single image. A man tied to a chair. Bloodied. Alive. Under it, 3 words. "Or lose him." She looked at the boss. "They want me." "They want me," he corrected. "Through you." Silence stretched. "If I go," she said, "this ends." He didn't answer. "If I go," she continued, "the city doesn't burn." He turned away. "That's the cost," she whispered. "Isn't it?" Finally, he faced her. "No," he said. "The cost is what happens after." They moved quickly then, through private corridors, down elevators that never stopped on records. Outside, engines roared to life. Men armed themselves without questions. "You're not walking into their hands," he said. "Not unprotected." She stopped. "Protection or possession?" she asked. He met her gaze. "Both," he admitted. "And that's my sin." At the exchange site, the city felt hollow. An abandoned industrial stretch where deals had ended lives before. Floodlights cut through darkness. Shadows waited patiently. She stepped out first. "They're watching," she murmured. "I know," he replied. "So are we." From the opposite side, figures emerged. Familiar fear wrapped in unfamiliar confidence. "You broke the rules," one voice called out. "For her." She was never the rule, the boss answered. She was the test. They pushed her brother forward. Alive. Barely. Her knees weakened. End this, she pleaded. Please. The men laughed. Endings, one said, are expensive. She took a step forward. The boss's hand caught her wrist. This is the last moment, he said quietly. Once you cross it, there's no returning. She looked at him. Really looked. You were never supposed to save me, she said. No, he replied. I was supposed to ignore you. She pulled free and walked forward. That's when the first shot rang out. Not aimed at her. Not aimed at him. Somewhere else. Somewhere planned. The deal collapsed instantly. Gunfire erupted. Men fell. Chaos swallowed the night. Through it all, the boss moved toward her, not away. Because some costs are paid in blood. Others are paid in truth. And as the city burned behind them, one question remained unanswered. When a mafia boss saves a life, does he lose his empire? Or does the saved become the one who destroys it?